So in this level, we covered some more advanced and very, very solid, very, very effective chokes and arm bars. Just wanted to share a few more thoughts about that. John, what are your thoughts on chokes?
Chokes, well, I think it's important to understand at the beginning exactly what makes a choke work. I mean, people think it's complicated. The wonderful thing about chokes is we've got so many different angles to do them from. You can pretty much choke from anywhere. Again, what makes a choke work is a simple thing: no oxygen to the brain. And we can do that several ways. One, by stopping the air coming in, and you can do that with a plastic bag over the head, although we do not recommend that. But by closing the trachea down, or the mouth or the nose, no oxygen into the body, no oxygen gets to the brain, out they go. Or we can stop the flow of oxygenated blood to the brain via the carotid artery. A third way is we can stop the deoxygenated blood coming out of the brain via the jugular vein. But as we talked about earlier on, the best thing is to stop all three. No air in, no oxygenated blood in, and no deoxygenated blood out. Stop that whole thing and that person shuts down.
And let me just say, that sounds like you could kill somebody, and if you held it on for a matter of minutes, you certainly could. Chokes have been being used in martial arts, particularly in Japanese arts, judo, for many, 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 many years, very, very safely. They're used by most police departments, also very, very safely. The biggest danger of chokes has less to do with causing someone to die because of oxygen loss, and more to do with just improperly putting one on and maybe wrenching somebody's neck or hurting their windpipe, which is why whenever you're training, whatever the intensity level is, you always have to remember your partner is just a partner. Even if it's a tournament, you want to win, but no one's trying to hurt anybody. And in a way, a choke is one of the most humane martial arts techniques, as opposed to many other techniques which involves punching and kicking, where if you actually executed them, you'd be breaking people's noses and breaking people's jaws and breaking people's cheeks, knocking teeth out, hurting your own self sometimes in doing that. Choke is a way that you can not injure yourself if you know how to apply it, and quite humanely cause someone to pass out. Doesn't matter if they're on drugs, doesn't matter how hyped up they are, they need oxygen. If they don't have that oxygen, they go to sleep, and once they're asleep, they're not a danger to themselves or to you. So in that sense, chokes are actually quite a humane thing to do. Moving on to the arm bars.
Arm bars, though, I think it's a great way for people to, well, it's the first joint lock that style of joint lock that people learn. There are two main ways, as we've discussed earlier on: hyperextension of the arm or rotation of the shoulder. People usually start with arm bars. The thing that I really like about arm bars, I think, is because most people, when you're wrestling them, people use their hands. As human beings, we use our hands and our arms to solve almost all of our problems. We open our car door, we pick up the milk, we take the drink, we peel the apple, we do all these things with our hands and our arms. People are no different when they hit the ground. When they hit the ground and you're on top of them, you're controlling, you're underneath, they try to control you, they try to solve you, which is you're their problem there, with their arms. So that means their hands come away from their body and they expose that target. And as grapplers, we can capitalize on that. So we find many, many opportunities to attack the arms because people are too used to using them.
I like arm bars very much because, unlike certain of the chokes, they don't require a particular material or a cloth or anything like that. Everybody's got arms. Also, although some people's arms are very strong, the way arm bars are designed, you're getting to use both of your arms, your hips, your stomach, your glutes, your back muscles, your leg, your hamstrings. Everything is pushing off your quads against basically just a bicep and maybe a second grip. So it gives someone who's not nearly as strong a chance to really get a joint lock that's meaningful. There are smaller joints that could be attacked. We don't do it in sport grappling, but certainly in a fight situation, you could be grabbing fingers, you could be twisting, you can be causing a lot of pain that way. But if someone's very, very motivated, that may not be enough of a debilitating injury to necessarily end the fight. The arm is the first limb that is big enough to make a difference if you can really damage it. Even if the person doesn't mentally end the fight, if they don't have use of their arm anymore, they're much less of a threat to you, and it's a big enough limb to make a difference, and yet it's not so big like a leg that if you're not really, really skilled, you can't do it. There are leg bars as well, but people who have very strong legs, even a well put on leg bar can be very difficult to execute because legs are just so strong. So I like arm bars for that reason.